Cat, Happy New Year. Is the glass half full or half empty? Let's find out.
Don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't if I tried. Oh honey, if I get restless, baby you're not that kind. Don't go breaking my heart.
So I think for most preppers the glass is actually half full, leaking and about to shatter into pieces. In other words, society is always about to fall. And yet, logically, society is not always about to fall. It's doing quite well. So I wanted to put on an optimistic video, because I usually do not quite so optimistic videos, because for me, the glass is about to shatter. What if the glass is actually about to fill itself up? What happens if it's strong glass and the future of humans and society and the planet Earth is actually a lot happier and more optimistic than we thought? Let's have a little look. Now the great Noam Chomsky, one of the great thinkers of America, actually said this: optimism is a strategy for making a better future, because unless you can believe that the future can be better, you are unlikely to step up and take responsibility for making it so. Interesting reversal of the traditional prepper viewpoint, which is that the future is catastrophic and therefore we have to step up to the plate to prepare to mitigate and avoid that catastrophic future. So you can actually take that type of a viewpoint and reverse it 180 degrees and actually be optimistic about the future and prep. So this is actually a title of a book and another cheap shot at the millennials. I do feel sorry for the millennials. They have a lot of problems ahead of them, and they have very little confidence in their abilities to deal with those problems from the rest of us, but such as it always has been in human history. So one of the things I like to do on a frequent basis is actually look at the health of the globe and everything on the globe, and also look at the future of the globe and everything on it, using futurism and future studies. And this is just an example of that. You can look at anything at all, and you can look at the scenarios. So the scenario would be Ice Age is coming, Ice Age isn't coming, temperature stays the same. So what we tend to do is we look at things as business normal, hypernormal and low normal. Now I'm not sure if most preppers do this. I think most preppers actually look at pessimistic worst case and prep for that. Realistically speaking, we shouldn't. We should look at the worst case, the most likely case, and a white swan case where things actually turn out to be great from this. For example, artificial intelligence in the future of work. We're all going to be replaced by robots, and in fact they'll be hunting us like the Terminator. Well, maybe not. Maybe technology advances may eliminate some jobs, but they will also spawn new industries and increase productivity. For that is what the pattern has been in the past with radical new introductions of technology. Gloom and doom, resistance, implications of the resistance, then acceptance, use, and a rising standard of living. So I think we have to have realistic optimism. Who are we? Where are we going? How do we get there? What can we do to maximize our own personal and family pleasure and health without being reliant on cash and money and status and power? Because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. You're going to die, I'm going to die, Kitty's going to die, and my terriers are going to die. And if all I ever do is sit around thinking about my own personal death, or the death of the society I'm in, it takes away a lot of pleasure of actually being alive. And that's not a great way to live, nor, I would say, to prep. So this slide is actually a very basic way of looking at futurism and future studies, and I would advise you actually to get into this a little bit. Just find the online world. You don't need to actually buy textbooks or go to conferences, though that's certainly available. You know, what have you noticed new in your life and your society? What are the implications of that new thing? And the way to look at it is to actually go backwards in time. For example, cell phones. If you go back in time and look at how cell phones evolved, why they evolved, what happened to cell phones, it wasn't actually apparent in the 80s and even the 90s to some degree that everybody would have personal pocket computers and people would actually stop talking on the phone and would just text a lot. That was a strange phenomenon, and nobody would have predicted not the death of phone conversations, but the transmutation of conversation from oral to textual. People would not have actually expected that. And so what? But knowing what's coming or having an idea of what is coming in society in terms of positive as well as negative is a good prep, even if you get it wrong. And most of the time you will get it wrong because the future is always unknown. But it's a fun exercise. It's more fun, it's more creative than always looking at if we have an EMP, if we have a pandemic, if we have a nuclear war, if we have robots that try and kill us. That stuff is an important part of prepping. Don't get me wrong, pessimistic is important. But so is positivistic. That's important for our own internal heart and soul and mind health. You cannot always be negative. So this slide here is just a basic slide that shows you a dichotomous outcome. There's two outcomes here, pessimistic and an optimistic. Now in reality, there is no such thing as two outcomes. There's always multiple levels of outcome. Some things will be good for some people, some things will be bad for others. But I think this is a fascinating one because in a pessimistic scenario, 60% of farming households have greater vulnerability to climate change. The outcome of this is amusing. Very poor will lose up to 9% of net returns and others a small portion. Again, neoclassical economics. And there was a famous statement recently that as agriculture only makes up 2% of the world's GDP, a failure of agriculture wouldn't be a big deal economically. Well, it wouldn't be, I guess, for a while, until we all died of hunger. So you have to actually have a broad viewpoint here. You can't just look at a specific area and prep for that accordingly. Now people do this with security all the time. They prep only for active, hostile incursions into their space. And the truth of it is most encounters in SHTF would not be active hostile. But are they doing any prepping for non-active, relaxed, fun, sharing encounters in SHTF? Or is it all about the horde's going to kill me and the gang's going to show up? Now, you need to be prepping for that sort of a scenario, but the majority of the encounters won't be that type of an encounter, so why are you only thinking about and only prepping for the worst case? So to illustrate a point about future studies, what you do is you look at historical trends and where we are now, and you have a guesstimate of what happens in the future of new technology and new societies and whatever the new thing is, and you guess what the price, what the amount, what the type of lifestyle will be. And as you can see, it's completely and utterly wrong. It goes up to 2026, so we can actually check this scenario outcome if we actually look at 2019. So they're claiming that market left to itself without any external factors, the price of oil will be just under $100 American per gallon, I think it is, whatever it is. Anyway, and optimistic, because they think oil price rises are optimistic, is up there. And that's the other thing. You know, in Alberta right now, people are upset because oil prices are so low, they're losing their jobs. Nobody wants to extract the oil from the ground. And they want to artificially have the government support that industry so artificially they can keep pumping oil out of the ground and keep people in jobs. Obviously, if your job's dependent on the oil industry, that sounds like a smart move. Obviously, for the rest of us, I don't want to give you my tax money for you to be doing a heavily polluting industry that we don't need right now, right? Not worth getting the oil out of the ground at that price. Why are you asking us to get it out of the ground at that price? Wait till the market corrects itself. In the meantime, take your skills and go and find a job somewhere else. Market is not necessarily a good idea because it will cause pain and suffering as translocations occur between different types of an industry. But this is what always happens anyway, and what happens is if the government does try to step in and help out, you actually soften the blow for long enough that a lot of people are actually caught out, and this happens all the time. So if you actually protect the Albertans from the oil price drop, what would happen is when you can no longer afford to protect them from it, at that point the outcome will be catastrophic, because people haven't just walked away from the industry and found jobs elsewhere and moved to Saudi Arabia or Bahrain or whatever. They've hung out in Alberta in anticipation of the oil price rise, the optimistic view from their point of view, and it doesn't. And eventually the government subsidies and the government actions fail, and everybody then loses their job, rather than just the people who weren't able to move for whatever reason. And as you can see here, the actual oil price is nothing at all like the predicted oil prices from any point of view. And that's true. The actuality of life will always be very, very, very variable. There'll be an overriding trend, but the actual outcome cannot actually be predicted with exact knowledge. Therefore, when you see videos that tell you financial crisis 2019, dollar collapse 2019, they're literally talking out of their bottoms. They have no intellect. They don't know what they're talking about. You cannot predict market prices. Nobody saw the crash in 2008. There were a few short sellers because they suspected there would be a problem, but nobody saw what happened in 2008 in the way it actually occurred. Nobody did, and nobody will for the next one. You can keep screaming that the world's going to end, but you need to prepare for the world not ending. So that's it for New Year. This is my New Year's message. Prep optimistically as well as pessimistically. There will be another video in this little minor mini series where I actually look at disease incidences and food consumption and everything else that involves our world, and actually show that far from our world collapsing or being in stasis, what we're actually doing is we're doing very, very successful. Now, I think, and a lot of people think, that we're doing so successfully that when the crash comes it will be catastrophic. Who knows though? I'm going to talk about an optimistic future. An optimistic future where clean, efficient energy sources and pregnancy rates and educational rates all conspire with certain types of new technology to make the world a healthy and great place. 2019. Prep because the world is unsecure. Prep because it's always a good idea. If you don't prep and there is an SHTF, tomorrow will always be worse than today. But for goodness sake, make sure you're alive, make sure you're happy, make sure you're focusing on things that give you creative growth, not just destruction. Just slaughtering things and killing things and having lots of ammo might make you feel good, but it actually is damaging your brain. You can do that, but you can also optimistically store in packets of seeds to figure out which of your neighbours you can actually grow food with in an SHTF once the chaos has collapsed and everything's getting back to a normal. Feels Becky, you're a good girl, aren't you? Mr. Behr. Very nice. Oh, oh. He's having a humper hour. Oh. Behr. Behr. What's the matter with you? Oh, 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 oh. What's the matter with you? What are you doing? Bubbles! Behr! Behr!
All I wanna be is washed out by the sea. Now Death Star over me won't give me any peace. All I want is life with me, but the crazies are